Imagine this an old wooden porch in a quiet little town outside Savannah, Georgia. The sun is rising, and 82-year-old Walter Jenkins steps out barefoot, mug in hand, steam curling from his morning tea. Just last year, Walter could barely walk to his mailbox without pain in his legs, breath catching, hands trembling from age and exhaustion. His grandkids used to worry when they saw him slouched in his recliner, dozing off, a shell of the man who once taught them to fish and fix bikes. But something changed. Every morning, without fail, Walter brews his special herbal tea blend, no fancy brands. Just a few leaves from his backyard and a habit he picked up from an old Vietnam vet buddy who swore by it. Believe it or not, Walter started moving again. Not running marathons, but dancing in his kitchen, fixing up his old Ford truck, laughing louder. He says it's not a miracle, it's a habit. It didn't cure him of anything, but it gave his body something to fight with. Herbal teas like the ones Walter drinks aren't magic, but they can support your body's natural systems. The key is consistency and understanding the plant power behind each cup. Don't wait for a crisis to start taking care of yourself. You're not too old, and it's not too late. If you're sitting there feeling tired, disconnected, like your body is a shadow of what it used to, don't let that be your final chapter. You can take one small step today, just like Walter. Start with a cup, and keep listening. Because we're about to show you 14 more teas that folks like you across the U.S. are using not to replace treatment, but to support their bodies with love, care, and nature's touch. In a quiet neighborhood in Jacksonville, Florida, 67-year-old Brenda Moore spends her mornings under a mango tree, but she's not there for the fruit, she's tending to her Soursop plant. She didn't always know what it was. A neighbor from the islands gave her a few leaves years ago, after her brother was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Brenda researched, talked to her doctor, and began brewing Soursop leaf tea. Just 1 cup a day, she told me. Just one. The tea is earthy, a little bitter, but calming, grounding, and simple. What Brenda didn't expect was how good she'd start to feel: lighter, less inflamed, better digestion. And most importantly, she felt like she was doing something powerful for herself. Soursop leaves contain a group of compounds called acetogenins, studied for their ability to help damaged or irregular cells shut down without hurting the healthy ones. This isn't a replacement for chemo or medicine, Brenda never said it was. But it's a choice, a daily ritual that gives her a sense of peace and support. If you're 60, 70, or 80 and you're scared, overwhelmed, hearing words like biopsy or precancerous, and you feel powerless, this is something you can do. Deep 2 to 3 dried leaves in hot water, breathe in the steam, and remind yourself that every single thing you feed your body matters. Talk to your doctor first, especially if you're on treatment. But don't ignore what nature grows freely, quietly offering help, while billion-dollar companies distract us with pills and powders. If Brenda can take control at 67, so can you. Let me take you to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where 75-year-old Jerry Simmons starts every morning with a black tea ritual passed down from his mother. You wouldn't think much of it, just a plain ceramic mug, a bag of black tea, a 5-minute steep. But what Jerry didn't know for most of his life is that this simple cup is loaded with polyphenols, especially a group called deflavins, that are being studied by scientists across the country for their potential role in slowing the spread of abnormal cell growth. Jerry's wife of 50 years recently recovered from a rough bout with colon issues, and while she was in the hospital, he started researching everything he could about what foods and drinks actually supported her health during treatment. That S, when he learned that black tea, docin tea, just wake you up, helps regulate cellular behavior. A 2024 study even showed it reduced tumor growth in mice. Now, Jerry drinks 2 cups a day, sometimes with lemon, sometimes plain. He doesn't claim it's a cure. He just knows it's one small, delicious way to support his body. If you're tired of watching the news and feeling like everything you eat or drink is hurting you, here's your daily act of resistance. Skip the sugary drinks. Brew black tea. Sit quietly. Reflect. And let those antioxidants do their quiet work inside you. 2 cups a day, no hype. Just science, tradition, and the kind of strength that shows up slow and steady like Jerry. In Bakersfield, California, 69-year-old Linda Watson keeps a small moringa tree in a pot on her patio. She calls it her tree of life, and for good reason. Years ago, after being diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, She went through her medical treatment plan, followed every doctor's order, but also looked deeper into supporting her recovery. That's when she stumbled across moringa, used for centuries in Africa and Asia for its nutrient density. Moringa leaves are packed with antioxidants like quercetin and chlorogenic acid that help protect the body from oxidative stress, one of the culprits behind abnormal cell growth. It also contains anti-inflammatory compounds that, according to studies, may help keep the body's systems running smoothly. Linda started drinking moringa tea once a day, just steeped dried leaves, a squeeze of lemon, nothing fancy. Over time, she noticed less joint pain, better digestion, and most of all, peace of mind. Because it wasn't about replacing her treatment, it was about rebuilding her strength from the inside out. If you're watching this and thinking, I've already been through chemo, I don't want to take another pill, then hear me loud. Your healing doesn't end when treatment ends. Supporting your immune system is a lifelong process, and moringa is a gentle green ally in that journey. Just 1 or 2 cups a day. You don't need to live near a health food store. You need the will to care for yourself as fiercely as Linda did. Don't wait for another diagnosis. Start nourishing now. Out in Little Rock, Arkansas, 80-year-old George Elliott grows thyme in old paint buckets along his back fence. It's just for cooking, he used to say, tossing it into stews. But when his daughter, an oncology nurse, sent him an article about thymol, the active compound in thyme that's been studied for its cancer-fighting effects, George began brewing thyme as tea. At first, he thought it was just folklore. But when he learned that thymol had been observed in lab settings to disrupt the mitochondria of damaged cells, essentially triggering them to die off before they could become dangerous, he gave it a try. 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, steeped 10 minutes, a splash of honey. He drank it every evening while reading the paper. Within weeks, he noticed better digestion and fewer flare-ups of his chronic bronchitis. More than that, George felt proactive, not scared, not passive, engaged in his own health. Thyme tea isn't a silver bullet, but it supports immune resilience, so your body can do what it's designed to, clean up the bad cells, reduce inflammation, and keep you living with strength. If you're someone who hears cancer prevention and thinks, well, it's too late for me, stop that thought. It's never too late to care for your health. George is 80 and he's still planting, still learning, still showing up for his body with every cup of tea. So if you have a jar of thyme in your kitchen, dust it off. Put a kettle on. You're not helpless, you're just one choice away from helping your body work better, longer, and stronger. In a small town outside Des Moines, Iowa, 72-year-old Carol Thompson keeps a worn-down garden where most people just see weeds. But for her, one weed changed everything. After decades of teaching second grade, retirement wasn't what she expected. Instead of quiet mornings and book clubs, she was facing early-stage colorectal issues and battling the constant fear of what might come next. Her son, a naturopathic practitioner in Oregon, recommended she look into dandelion root tea knot as a cure, but as support for her liver, digestion, and detoxification systems. Being skeptical but curious, Carol started steeping roasted dandelion root every night. The taste was earthy, nutty, a little strange at first, but what it did to her digestion, her energy, her clarity, and most of all, her sense of agency was profound. She learned that dandelion root is rich in compounds that, in scientific studies, have shown the ability to trigger apoptosis, natural cell death, in mutated cells while supporting liver detox pathways. Where so much of our body's cancer-fighting ability is processed, Carol didn't abandon her medical care. She combined wisdom from her doctors and wisdom from the earth. Now she walks daily, teaches a part-time gardening class, and makes sure her friends know that what looks like a weed can be one of nature's most protective plants. If you're overwhelmed by supplements, side effects, or just feeling forgotten by the healthcare system, here's your reminder that something as humble as a backyard weed might help your body do what it was born to, fight, clean, restore, and live. And yes, Carol still drinks her tea every night with jazz on the radio and her feet in a warm foot soak. Healing isn't about extremes, it's about moments. In Vermont's Green Mountains, 77-year-old Harold Brooks lives in a quiet log cabin with his dog, Buddy. For years, Harold dealt with restless nights, anxiety, and inflammation in his gut. After losing his wife to ovarian cancer, he spent years researching every natural way to support cellular health. One evening, his nurse practitioner gently suggested, Something simple. Chamomile tea. Harold laughed. That's for babies, right? But he gave it a try. Within a week, he noticed better sleep. Within a month, his indigestion eased. But what Harold didn't expect was what he read in a 2023 clinical review that showed chamomile contains apigenin, natural flavonoid that encourages damaged cells to commit apoptosis without harming healthy tissue. That's right, gentle little chamomile, the same flower kids use for lullabies. This may also quietly support the body's fight against abnormal cell growth. Harold now drinks 2 cups a day, one after lunch, one before bed. He doesn't skip it. Why? Because he's seen what stress and inflammation can do. He's lived the pain of cancer's impact. While chamomile didn't save his wife, it's helping him live better, longer, and with peace in his body. If you're struggling with fear, poor sleep, or the emotional weight of aging, this is your tea. Let chamomile be your companion. It's safe for most people, but always check with your healthcare provider, especially if you take medications. You don't need another prescription to feel better. Sometimes you need a flower, a quiet evening, and the decision to treat yourself with care. Just like Harold. Down in Tucson, Arizona, 68-year-old Susan Garcia used to throw away her pomegranate peels like everyone else. But one day, while watching her granddaughter peel the fruit and ask, "Is this the healthy part, Grandma?" something clicked. Susan had read a study on ellagic acid and punacollagens, 2 powerful antioxidants that exist not in the juice, but in the tough, bitter peel most of us discard. She learned that these compounds help fight free radicals and have been shown in lab settings to slow down the migration of certain cancer cells. And that's when Susan began drying her peels, grinding them into powder and steeping them in tea. 1 teaspoon, 10 minutes. A deep red tea that's both bold and bitter. At first, she wasn't sure she could stick with it. But over time, her energy improved. Her digestion felt cleaner. Her skin even looked brighter. And most of all, she felt connected to something ancient. Truth that healing doesn't come from waste. It comes from using the whole gift nature gives us. Susan didn't wait for her doctor to recommend it. She asked her oncologist if it was safe, then added it to her routine. If you're someone who believes your best health is behind you, Susan would say this: stop throwing away the parts of life that look hard. Peel, brew, sip, and take one more step in your journey. Nature doesn't waste anything, and neither should you. In Asheville, North Carolina, 73-year-old Daniel Reed stands behind the counter of his herbal shop, handing a small brown bag to a nervous young woman. "It's licorice root," he says gently. "It helped me balance out when I didn't know what was going wrong inside." Daniel was diagnosed with benign prostate hyperplasia years ago. The swelling, the discomfort, the hormonal imbalance, it all wore him down. But a local herbalist told him about licorice root, a plant used for centuries to support adrenal function, reduce inflammation, and help the body regulate hormone pathways. Daniel read about glycyrrhizin, its key compound, which in studies has shown anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and even hormone-modulating properties, especially in cancers related to estrogen and testosterone imbalances. He started drinking 1 small cup a day. No sugar, just the root, steeped gently in hot water. Within weeks, he noticed subtle shifts. Fewer hot flashes, less moodiness, steadier energy. Over time, he regained his clarity. Now he recommends licorice root tea cautiously, because it's strong and must be respected. Long-term or high doses can raise blood pressure, but used wisely, it's a gift. If you're a man in your 60s or 70s, feeling like your body is out of rhythm, or a woman dealing with menopause changes, this tea might help you feel balanced again. As Daniel says, it's not sweet because of sugar, it's sweet because it gives you back a little control. Check with your doctor, especially if you take blood pressure meds. And then sip and let your hormones settle like the steam rising from your cup. In Billings, Montana, 79-year-old Helen Sanders doesn't go a day without ginger tea. And if you ask her why, she'll tell you a story about the cold winter 2 years ago when her ovarian cancer treatment left her exhausted, nauseous, and afraid. Her nurse handed her a small thermos with ginger slices steeped in water. It was warm, spicy, soothing. "Now, this is just for the nausea," the nurse said, but Helen went home and read more. Gingerol, the compound that gives ginger its kick, was being studied for its ability to reduce inflammation and in lab models, suppressed the spread of cancer cells by interrupting key molecular pathways. She was stunned. How could something so simple, so ancient, hold such promise? So she kept brewing it fresh ginger, sliced and simmered, sometimes with lemon, sometimes with honey. The nausea faded, her strength returned. She didn't stop treatment, she supported it. Ginger helped her keep food down, kept her warm, and gave her a sense of courage that comes from knowing you're not helpless. If you're in pain, or in fear, or going through a treatment that feels like too much ginger tea can be your friend. It's not a miracle, but it is medicine in the oldest sense, healing through comfort, warmth, and nature. Ask your doctor. Make it fresh. Sip slowly. Let it bring you back to life, just like it did for Helen, who's now cancer-free. Walking every morning and still adding ginger to every pot she makes. In Portland, Oregon, 74-year-old Frank Delaney walks through Forest Park every Sunday morning, rain or shine. No, he doesn't rush. He moves slowly, carefully observing the damp tree trunks and mossy rocks, looking for the dark brown kidney-shaped reishi mushrooms that his Chinese-American neighbor taught him to recognize. Years ago, Frank was diagnosed with chronic fatigue and immune issues after cancer treatment. While working with his medical team, he also started learning about traditional healing methods. And that's how he discovered Reishitha, mushroom of immortality, as it's been called for over 2,000 years. What intrigued him wasn't folklore, but science. Studies show that reishi contains beta-glucans and triterpenes that stimulate natural killer cells, the very cells that patrol our bodies for abnormal growth. Reishi doesn't kill cancer cells directly, but it strengthens the immune system's ability to recognize and respond to threats early. Frank simmers dried slices of reishi for 30 minutes to draw out their full benefit. The tea is bitter, earthy, deep-panned. That's part of its magic. This is no quick-fix tonic. It's a slow, intentional brew that reminds your body what it means to stand guard. Frank drinks it before breakfast, always on an empty stomach, and says it gives him clarity, warmth, and something he never expected, the feeling of being rooted, not afraid. If you've been worn down by illness, stress, or the weight of aging, reishi may help you stand up again, not with false hope, but with steady support. Ask your doctor before starting, especially if you're on immune medications. Then brew, breathe, and walk, like Frank, one strong step at a time. In Charleston, South Carolina, 66-year-old Patricia Walker grows hibiscus in her front yard. It started as decoration, just a splash of red beside the porch, but now it's her lifeline. After a routine scan showed early-stage abnormalities in her lungs, Patricia dove into research and stumbled upon a 2024 study that explored how hibiscus extracts helped reduce cancer cell migration and support apoptosis. That same day, she picked a few petals, dried them gently in the sun, and made her first cup of hibiscus tea. The color was stunning ruby red like the sunset, tart like cranberries, bold and alive. Patricia now drinks 2 cups a day. The antioxidants and hibiscus anthocyanins and flavonoids don't promise a cure, but they offer something powerful: protection from oxidative stress, the silent cellular corrosion that accelerates disease. Since she started drinking it, Patricia says her blood pressure is more stable, her energy is better, and most importantly, she feels like she's doing something kind for her body. She never missed her checkups. She never skipped her scans. But she also made room in her life for hibiscus, for joy, for healing, for flavor. If you're dealing with early symptoms, family history, or just the anxiety of aging, hibiscus can be your companion. Just steep 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried petals in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes. Don't drown it in sugar. Let it speak for itself. Let it remind you, like Patricia reminds her grandchildren every evening, that healing starts with what you choose to pour into your cup. In San Antonio, Texas, 71-year-old Martin Alvarez grew up watching his mother crush coriander seeds in the kitchen, thinking it was just for flavor. But when he began experiencing chronic indigestion and was later told his liver enzymes were elevated, he revisited that childhood memory. His doctor recommended diet changes. Martin decided to do more than that. He began exploring herbal detox methods that didn't clash with his medication. That's when he remembered coriander. Modern studies have shown that compounds in coriander, including linalool, combine to heavy metals like mercury and lead toxins that contribute to oxidative stress and DNA damage. In one 2023 study, coriander seed extract even showed potential to slow gastric cancer cell growth. Inspired, Martin began making tea gently crushed coriander seeds steeped in hot water. Twice a day, morning and night. Within weeks, he noticed his digestion was smoother, his bloating gone, his energy steadier, and his blood work. It's better than it had been in years. Martin says the seeds didn't heal him. They helped his body clear space for healing. If you feel sluggish, toxic, or disconnected from your gut, coriander seed tea might just be your reset button. Simple, safe, and beautifully aromatic, it connects you to your roots both culturally and biologically. Talk to your doctor if you're on medications. But don't ignore the power in your spice rack. Sometimes healing ice and tea found in the newest pillet is found in a tradition passed down from a mother's hands to her son's health. In Sacramento, California, 78-year-old Barbara Jennings pours her daily cup of milk thistle tea like a sacred ritual. A breast cancer survivor, Barbara went through surgery and radiation with the strength of a lion. But the one thing no one warned her about was the toll it would take on her liver, the organ that processes chemotherapy, handles hormones, and filters out toxins day after day. Her integrative oncologist recommended milk thistle, specifically its active compound silymarin, known for protecting liver cells and helping regenerate damaged tissue. Barbara started crushing the seeds herself and steeping them each morning. The flavor is mild, slightly nutty, but the effect is powerful. Over time, her energy returned, her skin cleared, her digestion became more regular. She never skipped follow-ups or ignored her treatment, but milk thistle became her body's backup team, helping her bounce back. One 2025 study showed that silymarin interferes with tumor growth by triggering apoptosis and protecting cells from oxidative damage, especially in liver and breast cancer models. If you've undergone harsh treatments, take prescription drugs, or simply feel your body's filter system slowing down, this is your ally. It's not trendy, it's not flashy, but it works gently, deeply, reliably. Start with 1 teaspoon of crushed seeds steeped for 10 to 15 minutes. Drink between meals. Let it be your reset. Barbara says it gave her the strength to not just survive, but to thrive on, to tell every woman over 60 she meets. Dawn tea, forget about your liver. It's working harder than you think. In Boulder, Colorado, 65-year-old Greg Morrison never thought a cup of green powder would change his life. A retired fire chief, Greg spent decades under stress, sleepless nights, toxic smoke, and meals grabbed on the go. After his retirement, a skin biopsy revealed precancerous changes. His doctor laid out a plan, and Greg followed it. But he also began looking into foods and drinks that could support healthy aging. That's when he found matcha. Unlike regular green tea, matcha is made from powdered whole leaves, which means you consume 100% of its nutrients, including a powerful antioxidant called EGCG, which has been studied for its ability to disrupt cancer cell metabolism and block tumor blood supply. Greg started each morning whisking matcha into warm water, savoring the frothy drink like a ceremony. Within months, his blood pressure improved, his skin glowed, and his mind felt clearer. More than anything, it gave him focus, a quiet, stable energy that replaced the chaotic rush of his working years. He didn't quit coffee or cancel his doctor appointments. He added matcha, one small act of self-respect. If you're a man over 60, tired of hearing what you should have done, hear this instead. Today is enough. Start now. Buy ceremonial-grade matcha. Use 1 to 2 grams. Whisk it. Sip it slowly. Let it support your cells, your clarity, your comeback. Greg says, firefighters don't run from danger, we prepare for it. This is just preparation for the next chapter. For life.